Prime Minister calls for reforms in the United Nations. Addressing UN General Assembly on its 75th anniversary, PM says present-day challenges cannot be fought with outdated structures. Says a reformed multilateralism is needed that reflects today's realities, giving voice to all stakeholders, addressing contemporary challenges and focusing on human welfare. Rajya Sabha Deputy Speaker Narayan Singh today meets 8 suspended MPs in Parliament premises. Vice President and Prime Minister praised Deputy Chairperson's gesture. PM says Harivansh ji has been blessed with humble mind and a big heart. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address Indian Institute of Technology Guwahati's 22nd convocation today via video conference. Over 1,800 students will be receiving degrees. Three bills for labour welfare, including Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, Industrial Relations Code and Code on Social Security 2020, to be taken for discussion in Lok Sabha today. 9 bills listed in the Rajya Sabha. In sports news, world number 1 Novak Djokovic overcomes slow start to lift 5th Italian Open title. Defeats Argentine Diego Schwartzman in straight sets 7-5, 6-3 for record 36th ATP Masters crown.
जल शक्ति अभियान यानी बूंद बूंद पानी सहेजने की खास पहल। व्यवहार परिवर्तन के इस आंदोलन ने जल प्रबंधन में सामाजिक भागीदारी को बनाया आदर्श। देखिए जल शक्ति समाचार हर शनिवार शाम 6:30 बजे सिर्फ डीडी न्यूज पर।
गुड न्यूज जज्बा इंडिया का। संस्कृत भाषा देववाणी कहलाती है। इस भाषा को पिछले 10 सालों से लोगों के लिए जीवित और बहुचर्चित रखने का काम कर रहे हैं सूरत के रहने वाले मुर्तजा भाई। देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के विजन आत्मनिर्भर भारत से प्रेरित होकर इन दोनों कम उम्र के नौजवान छात्रों ने महज 4 से 5 महीने की मेहनत में मोबाइल पर जोश नाम का बच्चों का मोबाइल गेम तैयार कर दिया है।
लॉकडाउन की अवधि में जब रोजगार की बड़ी समस्या खड़ी हुई तो दुर्गाचरण मार्डी ने बत्तख पालन कर अपनी आर्थिक समृद्धि की राह तैयार की।
And in our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a high-level meeting to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the United Nations this morning. In his address, the Prime Minister stressed on the need for reformed multilateralism that reflects today's realities and addresses contemporary challenges. PM Modi also said that without comprehensive reforms, the United Nations faces a crisis of confidence.
The declaration also acknowledges the need for reform of the United Nations itself. We cannot fight today's challenges with outdated structures. Without comprehensive reforms, the UN faces a crisis of confidence. For today's interconnected world, we need a reformed multilateralism that reflects today's realities, gives voice to all stakeholders, addresses contemporary challenges, and focuses on human welfare.
The Prime Minister also said that although much has been achieved in the past 75 years, its original mission remains incomplete still, and lots of work needs to be done to prevent conflicts and ensure development.
As a founding signatory of the UN Charter, India was part of that noble vision. It reflected India's own philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which sees all creation as a family. Our world today is a better place because of the United Nations. We pay tribute to all those who have advanced the cause of peace and development under the UN flag, including in UN peacekeeping missions, where India has been a leading contributor. However, while much has been achieved, the original mission remains incomplete, and the far-reaching declaration that we are adopting today acknowledges that work still needs to be done in preventing conflict, in ensuring development, in addressing climate change, in reducing inequality, and in leveraging digital technologies.
And early this morning, even before proceedings in the House began, Rajya Sabha Deputy Speaker Harivansh Narayan Singh met the 8 suspended MPs in Parliament premises. He offered them tea. Yesterday, 8 Rajya Sabha members were suspended from the upper house for a week for their unruly behavior with the Deputy Chairman Harivansh during the passage of 2 farmer bills. They were Congress members Rajiv Satav, Ripun Bora and Nazir Hussain, TMC members Derek O'Brien and Dola Sen, CPIM members KK Ragesh and Elamaram Karim, and Aam Aadmi Party member Sanjay Singh. Vice President and Chairman of Rajya Sabha Venkaiah Naidu praised Deputy Chairperson's gesture today. And he praised Harivansh ji and said that this initiative, यह पहल हमारे उत्कृष्ट लोकतांत्रिक संस्कारों को दिखाता है. He spoke for how it displays our democratic culture, India's democratic culture. This gesture of this initiative to offer tea and share it to the members of the Rajya Sabha who were suspended and who were sitting in Parliament premises, who have been sitting in Parliament premises since last night. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also praised the Deputy Speaker. He tweeted to personally serve tea to those who attacked and insulted him a few days ago, as well as those sitting on dharna, shows that Shri Harivansh ji has been blessed with a humble mind and a big heart. It shows his greatness. I join the people of India in congratulating Harivansh ji. And in Rajya Sabha, 9 bills have been listed in the legislative business of the House for today. Bills including the Indian Institutes of Information Technology Laws Amendment Bill 2020, the Companies Amendment Bill 2020, the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020, the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill 2020, the National Forensic Sciences University Bill 2020, the Rashtriya Raksha University Bill 2020 will be tabled for consideration and passage. While the Taxation and Other Laws Relaxation and Amendment of Certain Provisions Bill 2020 and the Appropriation number 3 and number 4 Bill 2020 already passed by the Lok Sabha will be tabled for return after consideration by Rajya Sabha. It's also a big day for the welfare of labourers today. In order to ensure historical reforms for labour, the Modi government will table 3 codes for discussion and passage in the lower house. Union Labour and Employment Minister Santosh Kumar Gangwar on Saturday had introduced the 3 codes in the Lok Sabha. These codes are the Industrial Relations Code 2020, the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020 and the Code on Social Security 2020. These reforms will help protect the interests of labourers. Besides, they will ensure a protective and safe work environment for them. An effective redressal mechanism will also be available to dispose of their complaints. These labour codes have been designed to protect the interests of both labourers and employers. These 3 bills will pave the way for simplification and implementation of labour laws and will also strengthen labour welfare measures being taken by the government for over 50 crore workers in both the organised and unorganised sectors of the country. The government has hiked the minimum price for buying 6 rabi crops, including wheat, as it sought to send a strong message to farmers on continuation of MSP-based procurement system. The move came a day after Parliament approved 2 agriculture sector reform bills. MSPs of 6 rabi crops were approved by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by the Prime Minister, in a move aimed at encouraging farmers ahead of the sowing operations of the winter crop. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh said the government has been maintaining that the MSP mechanism will continue, and the approval of new support price ahead of Rabi season attests to this fact, as against a false propaganda spread by opposition parties.
मैंने उस समय भी कहा था एमएसपी जारी रहेगी। जो भारत सरकार ने कहा, जो नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने कहा, वो एमएसपी घोषित करके उसको आज हमने प्रमाणित किया है। और मैं आपके माध्यम से सारे देश को ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि एमएसपी भी जारी रहेगी, एपीएमसी भी जारी रहेगी और एपीएमसी के बाहर किसान अपने उत्पादन का उचित मूल्य प्राप्त करने के लिए किसी भी स्थान, किसी भी राज्य, किसी भी व्यक्ति को किसी भी कीमत पर बेचने के लिए स्वतंत्र है।
And now moving on, Parliament approved the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Second Amendment Bill 2020 yesterday, whereby fresh insolvency proceedings will not be initiated for at least 6 months starting from the 25th of March. In view of the corona pandemic, replying to a debate on the bill in the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the amendments would provide relief to companies reeling under the impact of the corona pandemic. The bill seeks to replace the ordinance was later approved by the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha has already approved the bill on Saturday.
ऐसे ऑर्डिनेंस का आवश्यकता इससे ज्यादा कॉन्टेक्चुअल, अब का माहौल से ज्यादा कॉन्टेक्चुअल शायद 100 साल में नहीं हुआ। इससे टाइमली ऑर्डिनेंस ले आने का माहौल शायद इन आने वाले 100 साल में भी नहीं हो सकता है। इसीलिए वी केम अप विद ऑर्डिनेंस। The dimension and the scale of the pandemic was obvious, and therefore we had to come up with an ordinance which clearly suspended the application of 3 sections, 7, 9 and 10 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which is after all a young law, only 2016. But we had to prevent any company which is experiencing distress because of the COVID getting or being pushed into an insolvency proceeding, and therefore we had to suspend these 3 sections.
Parliament gave its assent to the Epidemic Diseases Amendment Bill 2020, with the Lok Sabha passing it with a voice vote. Replying to the debate in the Lok Sabha on Epidemic Diseases Amendment Bill 2020, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan hailed the efforts of Corona warriors, saying their contributions will be remembered in golden letters in history. The Epidemic Diseases Amendment Bill 2020 amends the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 to include protection for healthcare service personnel combating epidemic diseases. Rajya Sabha gave its nod to the bill on 19th of this month.
कोरोना का इतिहास लिखा जाएगा तो कोरोना वॉरियर्स का इतिहास उस इतिहास में सबसे ज्यादा स्वर्णिम अक्षरों के अंदर लिखा जाएगा। और इतिहास, जैसा मैंने कल भी कहा था, कि उन माताओं को भी हमेशा याद रखेगा जो कि लगातार पिछले 9 महीने से देख रही हैं कि एक के बाद एक कोरोना वॉरियर्स, चाहे वो डॉक्टर हों, चाहे वो नर्सेज हों, बहुत सारे जर्नलिस्ट भी कोरोना वॉरियर्स की तरह इस जंग के अंदर उन्होंने अपने प्राण दिए।
And he also reiterated the central government's commitment to support state governments in the fight against COVID-19.
हमने किसी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को नहीं कहा कि आपसे हमको पैसा चाहिए। हमने सारे देश भर के 22 लाख वर्कर्स का जो है इंश्योरेंस खुद किया, उसके लिए सारा का सारा प्रीमियम भारत सरकार ने दिया। बड़ी विनम्रता के साथ कहना चाहता हूं कि हम पूरे 9 महीने से प्रधानमंत्री जी, उनकी पूरी टीम पूरी विनम्रता के साथ सारे देश को सब प्रकार का सहयोग करने के लिए लगी है। जब देश में 3 कोबास की मशीनें आई सिर्फ इस पूरे 9 महीने में, जहां सबसे ज्यादा जिनके टेस्ट होते हैं, तो प्रधानमंत्री जी को जब निर्णय करना था तो उन्होंने ये नहीं सोचा कि इस कोबास मशीन को जो है मुझे किसी अपने बीजेपी की सरकार के पास भेजना है। उन्होंने उसको महाराष्ट्र में भेजा, उन्होंने उसको वेस्ट बंगाल में भेजा। 135 करोड़ लोगों के प्राण की रक्षा के लिए हम लोग सब मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं।
The Prime Minister will address the convocation of IIT Guwahati through video conferencing this afternoon. A total of 1,803 students, including 687 BTech and 637 MTech students, will receive their degrees. Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal, Minister of State for Education Sanjay Dhotre and other dignitaries will participate in the event. Dr. Rajiv Modi, Chairman, Board of Governors, IIT Guwahati, and Professor T.G. Sitharam, Director, IIT Guwahati, will be present during the event. The first ever cargo ferry service between India and the Maldives was jointly launched on Monday, opening a new chapter in connectivity initiatives in the Indian Ocean region. Minister of State for Shipping Mansukh El Mandavia and Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation of the Maldives Aishat Nahula launched the service virtually. The cargo ferry vessel MCP Linz, operated by the Shipping Corporation of India, will connect Tuticorin and Cochin ports in India with Quilhudun, Fushi and Malé ports in the Maldives. The cargo ship sailed from Tuticorin to Kochi yesterday and is expected to reach Malé on September 29th. The vessel provides direct cargo connectivity between India and the Maldives on a predictable and affordable basis for the first time and will lower costs and times for traders in both countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in June 2019 had announced India's commitment to start a ferry service connecting India and the Maldives. While exercising India's right to reply, India's first secretary at the permanent mission in Geneva, Senthil Kumar, denounced Pakistan for trying to divert the attention of the Human Rights Council with its imposterous political propaganda full of disinformation about India's internal matters. He said it will be better for Pakistan to set its own house in order before it speaks about others. Highlighting the atrocities committed by state actors in Pakistan-occupied parts of Indian Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, India said that it's well documented that a large number of Kashmiri detainees are in secret detention facilities in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied territories now for several years, and they have been severely tortured by security forces. India has said that especially worrying is accusations of blasphemy, which can put accused individuals at imminent risk of violence. India has said security forces in Pakistan have gained proficiency in unlawful killings and kidnapping of people in so-called counter-terrorism operations. This has been compounded by a weak judiciary in Pakistan, which has consistently failed to protect even basic human rights of the people. And World Rhino Day is being observed throughout the world today. Started in 2010, the day was created as an attempt to generate awareness about the endangered animal. More in this report by our correspondent, Tapas Paracharya.
India's effort to conserve tiger population is known around the world. But there is another conservation story that is making the heads turn. It's a story of single-horned rhinos whose population has grown manyfold over the years. On World Rhino Day, let's get you this amazing story. Slumbering through the dense jungles, rhinoceros evoke awe and fear in equal measure and are a sight to behold. But the myth of medicinal value and the menace of poaching brought the species on the brink of extinction. In order to save the majestic animal, World Rhino Day is observed throughout the world on 22nd of September. Started in 2010, the day was created as an attempt to generate awareness about the endangered animal. The aim was to ignite consciousness to the horrors of poaching on a global scale. India is home to the greater one-horned rhinoceros, a symbol of Indian subcontinent.
Today is the Rhino Day, International Rhino Day. We all know that there are 5 species which are now left in the world, rhino species. 2 of them are found in the southern part of Africa and 3 are in the Asian subcontinent. And 1 of them is found in India, the great one-horned Asian rhinoceros. But the situation has improved tremendously in the last 5-6 years in India as far as the Asian rhino is concerned. And we have seen a steady rise. And being Indians, proud Indians for conserving the iconic species, we know that this species is found in 3 states of India, Assam, West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. And we are also trying to introduce the species in the Valmik Tiger Reserve in Bihar. We are now in the process for reintroduction of rhino in newer areas which once existed in the history.
India has been leading from the front.
And Minister of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, tweeted, India is home to the largest number of the greater one-horned rhinoceros in the world. Its population in the range of 3,000 in the states of Assam, West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. The Environment Ministry has launched a national conservation strategy for the Indian one-horned rhino, unquote. And now for COVID updates, India in her fight against COVID-19 has scaled another peak in testing through effective management strategy. In the past 24 hours, 9,33,185 samples were tested across the country. With the 6,53,25,779 total tests have been conducted. And as far as updates on figures of COVID-19 from across the world are concerned, over 3 crore 14 lakh corona cases have been reported worldwide, with more than 9,69,000 deaths. As many as 2 crore 31 lakh people have recovered from the virus so far. The United States continues to top the list, being the worst hit country by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of COVID cases. The US has crossed the 70 lakh mark with over 70.46 COVID-19 cases, with deaths now crossing 2,04,000. In terms of the death toll, Brazil stands second with over 1,37,000 deaths. There are more than 45,60,000 cases of COVID in Brazil. In the United States, tributes and memorials to late U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg popped up all over her hometown of New York City. A statue named Fearless Girl in Wall Street has donned a lace collar over the weekend to honor the late champion of equal rights. The second female justice in the court, Ginsburg died last week at the age of 87. After a 27-year tenure in the nation's High Court. And in sports, world number 1 Novak Djokovic overcame a sluggish start to lift his 5th Italian Open title on Monday, defeating Argentine Diego Schwartzman 7-5-6-3 for a record 36th ATP Masters crown. The Serb, playing in his first tournament since being disqualified from this month's US Open, won in straight sets in the final to ensure he goes into next week's French Open on a high. Djokovic drew level with Rafael Nadal last month on the all-time list of Masters winners with his Western and Southern Open title. Heading into next week's French Open, Djokovic has now won 31 of 32 matches. Top seed Simona Halep warmed up for next week's French Open by winning her first Italian Open title after opponent Karolina Pliskova retired injured. Romania's Halep led 6-0 2-1 against the Czech's second seed, whose movement seemed to be hampered from the start. After a 20-minute first set, Pliskova had treatment but could not continue. Halep, who won the French Open title in 2018, has won 14 matches in a row either side of the enforced break because of the corona pandemic. The rearranged French Open starts at Roland Garros in Paris on Sunday. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. News and updates continue on DD News and DD India. Namaskar.